All right, it's Pierre here. We're back with Dan Post Boots. This is our 101, our first lesson to boots. When you go looking for boots, let's say you're at Boot Barn, you can be overwhelmed with choices. And this right here is gonna be your gold standard of what you're gonna be looking at. For most people, when either looking at your first boot or your next option, if you already have one of these, we're gonna go through what they are and what to expect, what they're called. And maybe when you look at this video, you'll be able to say, okay, I love that style. That's the one I have to have. And then you can ask me some questions about how comfortable it's gonna be. All right, so your first one is gonna be your traditional cowboy boot here. This is an R-toe boot. This beautiful traditional ostrich skin R-toe is called the Gehrig. Talked about this one in the past. This is probably my favorite boot because this thing is absolutely timeless. Kind of the things that you're looking at when you're looking at a traditional style cowboy boot is obviously your more narrow pointed toe there. This boot is just as comfortable to me as any other. If you put this boot on and you're thinking that it's gonna have, a tighter foot presence, it doesn't. If you ride horses, when you're, putting your boot into the stirrups, this thing is a little bit easier to find that hole and get your foot into the stirrups. This is a very comfortable boot when you're riding in the saddle, but it's also a very stylistic choice. It's very dressy. This thing just has its own aura. It has its presence. It's got a more tapered heel on it. This thing is typically a little bit longer heel than what a roper style heel would be, and that's just for more arch support in the stirrups. But again, it gives you a taller presence. You're always gonna look good, and this right here, a traditional cowboy toe. This snip toe right here is called the Rip. This is a great stylistic choice too. This is a boot I imagine, some great artists to be wearing on any kind of stage anywhere. It's a beautiful boot. It has a strong presence. You can look at this boot and know that you've seen it before and you've seen somebody wear it. That's just how this boot is. It's got its own aura. Absolutely love it. This one right here, you guys are gonna know this one. This broad square toe and this black ostrich skin is called the Alamosa. This is a very comfortable boot. This is the boot you can put on and feel like you're wearing a sneaker, especially once you get it broken in. Again, with ostrich skin, you don't need much of a break-in process. These boots are incredibly comfortable straight out of the box, especially with these cowboy certified soles. This one right here has the rubber inserts for a little bit more grip. So what you can expect with a broad square toe, especially this with a like a roper style heel on it, it's gonna be more flat, more surface on the ground throughout the whole entire boot, a shorter shaft. So if you're somebody who's had trouble, feeling uncomfortable with a taller shaft boot, like what you have on a traditional style with a 13-inch shaft there, being a little bit of an irritation, I can tell you when I put these things on, you don't even feel like you're wearing a cowboy boot. This thing does not bother you anymore or rise up onto your calf or anything like that. So great choice if you're looking for comfort. This cowboy square that is becoming so popular is called the Wade. I love this boot. It's a very nice stylistic choice as well. It's a great blend between what you would expect from a square toe boot with a traditional boot, this one here. They just both look absolutely beautiful. You just get a little bit more of a footprint. It's another boot I can imagine an artist wearing. This has a very large Morgan Wallen presence. If I was gonna put him in anything, I'd probably put him in that. It's a great looking boot. It has that removable insert. Adds for another level of comfort. Another great boot if you're gonna be spending a long day in boots. I highly suggest this option if you're looking for something that's more of a stylistic choice. All right, which leads me to another one of my favorites. This is a boot that I've been wearing the most probably in the years of 2023 and 2024. This beautiful capybara that I'm in love with is called the Cappy. With that large spur shelf, you can easily identify this boot when you walk into the store. That thing makes this boot an absolutely great riding boot right here. And they put these plastic covers on them. I don't know what you call it, but I love the way it protects your heel stack from your spurs when you're wearing this boot. This has been my favorite riding boot. It's just got a nice sleek look to it. It does have a longer shaft, but you feel like it's not even there. But it's also more leg protection. Absolutely love this boot. Love the double stitching. It gives it a great look and presence when it walks into the room. One of my favorites, couldn't recommend it enough. All right, and the new kid on the block, this pretty blue suede Cayman and this Rom toe is called the Leon. I got to watch my boy Tucker Wetmore wear this one this past weekend on stage. And the thing I love about this boot the most is you do get that nice, broad, like flat presence, but you also have this tapered appearance to it. And when I seen Tucker wearing these, I noticed that his cowboy cuts went over this boot perfectly. Didn't have a bulky presence like you would on something that's a little bit more broad where you have to wear a boot cut jean with it. This boot works with a straight leg, which is super cool. You still get that beautiful presence of a broad square toe, but it tapers beautifully, giving it kind of a look like the cutter toe does, but obviously broad, and it works. Absolutely love this boot. It's a great option if you're looking for something different and more of a broad presence. Also with that short shaft too, so love that boot. So if I was gonna go riding or just be outdoors, a boot that I'm kind of working in, let's say for the day, I'm gonna go with this right here. We don't know how long the day is gonna be. This cutter toe has got a great foot presence on the ground. I can sprint in these if I wanted to. I can ride in these. They slide in and out of the stirrups easy. You got a nice spur shelf. So you pretty much got a boot right here that'll do anything you need it to do. Taller shaft for more protection. So if I'm gonna be outside, if I'm gonna be riding, don't know how long I'm gonna be outside, this boot could easily turn into a 12-hour day if you needed it to. So this is a huge recommendation for me. This is what I would go with if I was doing that. So I've noticed specifically with Danpost that I order everything in the same size. Everything fits me pretty much the same. Now, if you're somebody who does have a wider foot, people typically think that you need to look at something like a broad square toe just because you have a wider foot. You can get these boots in a wider size. So you can still wear a traditional style pointed toe boot. This boot is a great riding boot. It's a great wearing boot. It's a comfortable boot. You can still wear this boot even though you have a wider foot presence. But when it comes to sizes, I've noticed that for me, everything is pretty much true to size, and I just go with my traditional size 9 every time I wear one of these boots. So heel height is a funny thing for me because I'm a shorter guy, and I know like there's no other than when I wear a pointed toe traditional style boot with that taller arched heel, it gives me a taller presence. It looks more professional, it looks dressy. When I'm going out on the town, I'm probably gonna go with something like this just to have that little bit more of essence and aura. It's not you, it's the boot. The boot just gives that. It's a nice, strong looking boot. I love that choice when I'm going out on the town. That's actually a really great question. So the construction of these boots vary, right? So some boots are made with an insole that's made into the boot, and this boot is meant to conform to your foot over time. Just with the natural oils in your foot and wearing them, this boot will start to mend to you. So this is a boot right here that has a built-in leather insole. I can't say whether I prefer one or the other, but what I've noticed is this boot over time is gonna fit like a glove. Whereas this boot, let's say this one here with a removable insole, which is there for comfort, it is immediately comfort when you put the boot on. But what I've noticed is with that, this boot doesn't ever get an indention in it where your foot is actually pressed up against the bottom of it. When you come out of this boot, this insert is gonna, come back to a size. It's meant to do that for comfort. You don't wanna wear something that is gonna dissolve over time. You want an insole that's gonna bounce back and give you comfort. It's really up to your preference, but I've noticed for me, I like when a boot starts to kind of build that mold to your foot and it's kind of fitting more like a glove. Then I prefer the immediate comfort that you would get of something that has a built-in insole. That's probably the major thing I've noticed about how a boot can be made and give you a different fit and feel to it when you're actually wearing the boot. It's really up to the wearer. I recommend trying both on because I can guarantee you when you put these on and you feel how that sole feels, you're gonna be like, I absolutely love it. But when you come back to a boot like this, that seems a little bit rough because you're walking on leather, but when you come back to it in a month or so and it fits like a glove, you're absolutely gonna love it. If you want something that feels absolutely comfortable, absolutely great walking boot, something you're not gonna wear all the time, that's a better option too. So a boot that I wouldn't recommend, and I can't say I wouldn't recommend a boot at all, right? Unless there are certain circumstances that you're gonna be in, right? If I'm going dancing, I don't want anything with a rubber insert on it. I can't slide across the dance floor. If I'm going riding in stirrups, I don't want anything that has a full rubber outsole because you're gonna not be able to slide in and out of your stirrups as easy as you want it. Could even get hung up. Now, something like this, a lot of people will argue that you're getting more grip, that you're more planted, especially if you're like barrel racing or something like that. You're more planted. You do have grip. You don't have to worry about it. But if I'm out on a long ride and anything can happen, I'm out in the mountains or something like that, I'm probably gonna recommend something that's more of a leather outsole, so if anything goes wrong, you're sliding out versus gripping in. Other than that, I can't really say there's the boot I wouldn't recommend for any specific reason. I would stick to quality. Leather is leather. You don't wanna get anything that's a knockoff leather. But I would stick to a quality brand, like Danpost, and pretty much anything you look at is gonna be a good boot. With these videos, hopefully we can help you guide yourself into something that is perfect for your certain situation.